Hey students, welcome to another Mr. Ness screencast. Today's aim is separatist movements and devolution. And here are your objectives. Pause the video, look these objectives over, and get ready to copy some vocab and take some notes. In yesterday's lesson, you looked at the division of power within a country, and today we will continue to look at politics at that same scale, within a single state. A stateless nation is an ethnicity that does not control a state. Instead, these ethnicities live in a state where most power is held by a different ethnicity. Take a moment to write down these examples of stateless nations. Palestinians live under Israeli control. Kurds live under foreign control in several different states. Tibetans and Uyghurs both live under Han Chinese control, and Catalans live under Spanish or Castilian control. None of these groups has a country that it can call its own. Often, stateless nations express their desire for their own state through nationalism, by emphasizing unity among the ethnicity and advocating for independence. That desire for independence creates what are known as separatist movements, a movement to break away from a country and form an independent one. At least some members of all the stateless nations you just listed are currently engaged in separatist movements. In class, you'll learn about 3 more separatist movements that are all taking place in Europe. Catalans seeking independence in Spain, Scots seeking independence in the United Kingdom, and the Flemish seeking independence in Belgium. When stateless nations seek independence from a country, there are a few ways that the country's government can respond. One option is that they could grant the separatists full independence. This rarely happens without a fight, and if a stateless nation does achieve its own state, it's usually because it won some kind of struggle or war with the ruling government. A second option is that the government in power doesn't grant the separatists independence, and nothing really changes. That might also be the result of a struggle, but in that case, the separatists lost and were forced to remain under foreign control. A third option, and one that can only happen in federal states, is that the country's ruling government maintains ultimate control of all of their land, but, maybe in order to appease the separatists, decides to give them more power at a regional level. And it is this third option that I'm going to focus on now. When the ruling government decides to give more power to regional governments, we call this process devolution. Devolution is the movement of power downward from the central government to regional governments. I call it downward because if we think about a hierarchy of power or a scale of power, power is moving from a higher level to a lower level. That's because the central government, which has power over the entire state, is giving up power to regional governments, which only have power at the sub-state level. So power is moving from the top down. Again, this can only happen in a federal state where power is shared between the central government and the regional governments. Take a look at this picture, which shows a hierarchy of power within a state. I'm using these symbols of US government because I think you'll recognize them more easily, but when we discuss separatist movements and devolution, we won't actually be talking about the United States. At the top of this hierarchy of power is the central government, with power over the whole country. Below that, at the sub-state level, we have regional governments. And below the sub-state level are local city governments. Now let's apply this idea to a country like Spain. Let's imagine that Spain has a law that says that all high schools in Spain must teach their curriculum in Spanish. But in one region of Spain called Catalonia, an ethnicity called the Catalans would prefer that schools have the power to teach classes in their local language, Catalan. So the Catalans wage a separatist struggle, and although they don't receive independence, the central government in Spain does decide to let Catalonia make its own decisions about which languages are taught in high schools. This would be an example of devolution, because a power that was formerly controlled by the central government at the state level is transferred downwards and given to a regional government at the sub-state level. All right, now it's time to review the objectives, and if you don't know the answer to any of them, rewind the video and look again. See you in class. Bye, students.